Thank you, Bill. And I asked Bill for a little bit of discretion on time. So those of you that are other candidates, when I'm done, you'll understand why he agreed to give me a little bit of additional time as your state senator. You know, I've been traveling around the state for a little over a year now, talking about the economic and the financial challenges that Minnesota faces. And I developed a campaign theme called Jobs, Jobs, Jobs. And I was the first one to talk about that. And for me, there's kind of three reasons that I talk about it. The first one's really personal. You know, we have a record number of Minnesotans on unemployment. Every week in 2010, over 200,000 people have got an unemployment check. In fact, the second week of January, 240,398 Minnesotans got an unemployment check. That's personal for me because in my career as a carpenter, I went through periods of unemployment. And back in the 80s, that tough recession of the 80s that some of you remember, I remember it really well because I ran out of unemployment. My boys were 3 and 4 years old, and we went without health insurance, and I was scared. So I have never forgotten what it's like to not have a job. So that's the first reason that I talk about it. You know, and in recent weeks, yesterday, and the 3 weeks before, over 400 people in Minnesota got their last unemployment check. What are those families going to do? The next governor has to make creating jobs the #1 priority in this state. And the second reason that I talk about it is because I'm the chair of the Senate Tax Committee. There's something that I understand pretty well about the state budget. We have a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit on the horizon. You cannot raise taxes enough to solve this problem. And we're not going to cut spending in a draconian way to solve this problem. If the state economist was here today, he would tell you that almost the entire state deficit is the result of reduced income tax collections. That's what he would tell you. So that's the second reason I talk about it. If we're ever going to have the money to invest in the things that all of us as Democrats think are important, we've got to get this economy going and get Minnesotans working again. And then the third reason that I've talked about it is I think it's the message that wins. I think in the depth of a deep recession, that's what's on people's minds. And just let's have a little test. How many of you, please raise your hand if you know somebody who's lost their job. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Hold it up. And now look around the room. Every place I've gone, that's what it looks like. Everybody knows somebody, has a friend or a family member that's lost their job in this recession. It is the message that wins. Just like it worked for Rudy Perpich in 1982, it was the same message. I've called it kind of an honest conversation. You know, Minnesotans know that there's problems. I think people can feel it. They can feel that the state is trending in the wrong direction. You know, there are fewer people working today in Minnesota than when Tim Pawlenty took office. Every month, when the state sends our payment out to our school districts, the state's withholding 27% of the money that we owe to our K-12 schools. And during Pawlenty's tenure as governor, tuition at our state colleges and universities has gone up over 80%. You know, in our two-year colleges, technical schools, we have the highest tuition in the nation. And we all know what's going on with property taxes. Under Tim Pawlenty, they're up over 65%. As he's totally abandoned our schools and they've had to rely on voter-approved levies. As he's absolutely destroyed the relationship between the state and our local units of government and cutting aid to cities and counties, and they've had no choice but to go to the property taxes to raise money to provide services that we all want in our communities. So I've tried as hard as I can to articulate the problem, because I think if we can frame it up, people privately understand it. They just need a candidate to articulate that for them. And Minnesotans will do the right thing. And they will respond and they will agree that this state needs some new revenue. You know, and they'll be willing to be part of the solution. Now, let me just kind of close by saying, it really has been an honor to serve you in not only in the State House, but in the State Senate. And I'm going to announce today that I am withdrawing from the race for governor. It has been an incredible experience the last year traveling around the state. I have met so many incredible Minnesotans and built so many strong relationships. And I will be a much stronger state senator for the experience. But I'm going to commit my time to trying to solve the most immediate problems that the state has. We have a very, very serious financial and economic crisis in this state. And right now, I'm going to dig in at the Capitol and see if we can solve this budget problem in the most sensible and compassionate way as we possibly can. You know, I've got some good friends that have endorsed me in this race, and I called many of them this morning, and I'm going to do everything that I can with every bone in my body to make sure that the Democrats keep control of the state Senate. That is where I'm going to spend my time, my energy, this fall, this summer, and this fall. And I'm going to spend, in addition to that, do everything I can to make sure that Minnesota elects a Democrat to the governor's office. I don't plan to ask you to support any of the other candidates. I've gotten to know many of them over the course of the summer and fall and have developed a great deal of respect for this field of candidates that are running for governor. My intent is to not pick a candidate, and I am going to go to the convention, like many of you, wondering who can be the strongest candidate coming out of there to win in November. You know, I always tell people that people in the Arrowhead region are the best people in the state to represent, because I've never felt like they ever questioned my judgment when I had to make a difficult decision at the Capitol. So thank you for being that. Thank you for always standing behind me. Thank you to all of you who have helped me over the last year in this quest for governor. And I've got really an incredible staff that have been working on this governor's race. We've got a lot of volunteers, but we've got an incredible staff, and I'd like them to raise their hands so that you can recognize them. And last night, I stopped to see my parents. My dad was 89 years old in February. And you know what he said? I really wanted to have my 90th birthday party at the mansion. But I said, Dad, it's not going to work out that way. But I'm looking forward to that 90th birthday party too. And he's a great grandpa for the very first time, just like I'm a grandfather for the very first time. And I'd like my wife Laura to stand up. There is no way that you can embark on the kind of adventure that I have been on in the last year without an incredibly supportive spouse. She is a remarkable person. She would have been an incredible First Lady for this state. Anyway, thank you all very much. Have a great weekend, and God bless you all.